Excuse me, could you point me in the direction of ScreamCity? Never mind, I think I found it.
Hello, horror freaks. Welcome back. I am your host, Monica.
And I'm Jessica. And guys, Happy New Year.
Happy New
This
Year.
is our official first episode back.
For the new year.
For the new year.
Black Christmas counted, but it also didn't count. It counted, but it didn't count.
It counted, but it didn't count. But anyway, we're excited to be back. And today we're talking all about none other than the classic A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yo, that's a movie.
It's a movie.
A movie's a movie. And that one, that's a movie. But yeah, as always, we are super excited to discuss this. But of course, we have to start with our typical talk of the week. So we're going to go ahead and mention our peak and our pit. Jess, you want to go ahead and start us off?
Yeah.
It's only been a few days.
But
it's fine. Always look at the good in all of your days.
100%.
You know?
And just for that, I don't think I'm going to mention a pit because I don't think I have one.
Okay.
I actually have two peaks.
Good.
So my first one is that I look like Chucky again.
She do. Mm-hmm. You literally match my doll.
A little Pennywise moment, a little Annabelle moment, a little Wendy's moment.
I love.
Yeah. So
all,
I did
all iconic gems.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be next in line. But
it's like Chucky, Pennywise, Annabelle, Wendy's, Jessica.
Right.
They're gonna add you to the list.
But yeah, I did recently dye my hair and I feel beautiful. As always, beautiful. Of course.
That's the point.
And then my second one, which I mean can kind of be a pit, is I started my second semester at school.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited. But yeah, that's pretty much it. What about you, Monica?
It's really only been a few days. My pit, I think, is I can't tell if I'm just being overwhelmed from like busyness and hectic of general life things. So I've been feeling kind of disassociated. So that doesn't really feel great, but I'm also used to it. So I take that as you will.
Yeah.
And then my peak is that we discovered something new in therapy today.
Yay.
So, yeah. So
Good
that's always
you.
great. Yeah. But all right.
But finally getting into this movie, like we mentioned in the last episode, we wanted to start off the new year strong. So what better way than to start it off with Freddy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Freddy.
We know this is a classic film, and everyone and their mom knows who Freddy is, but for those of you horror newbies who aren't too sure what the plot of A Nightmare on Elm Street is, or if you just need a slight refresher, basically Nancy, who is our lead protagonist throughout this entire movie, is a high school student who is targeted alongside her friends and family-ish by an evil entity, if you will, that kills you in your dreams. But the twist is if you die in your sleep, you die in real life.
Do you know how terrifying that is?
Yeah.
Because have you had like realistic dreams where, I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, you know, like you can't physically, or I think that's a thing, right? Like you can't die in your dreams, like, because right before you die, you wake up or something like that, right? Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that that's like a thing.
I will say 100%. I do feel like I've had a dream where I died. Of course, I don't remember like how because I'm sure I woke up. Because
I might be dead right now. I don't know.
Like I obviously woke up from that dream before I could have died, but I remember the feeling. Isn't that weird?
You should see my face right now.
Yeah. I remember the feeling of like fear of dying in my dream.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. But you didn't actually die. Like you died, but like you woke up?
Correct.
Okay.
I think.
Well, I think that's like the point. Like I think you go through the entire like feeling like, you know, getting chased or, you know, almost getting stabbed or going through like something really traumatic and then boom, right before you die, like you just sort of wake up from it. Right. So that's why I'm like it makes sense. I don't know if maybe that's where they got the concept from. It's like, okay, but like what if you actually died? Right. Then that means like you died in real life. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think something like Freddy is pretty terrifying to think about because I already don't sleep. So I
Same.
don't think I'd be too much of an easy target. I think he'd be waiting a really long time for me to fall asleep.
I feel like he would have a field day with me because I do have insomnia, but like I'm also on trazodone.
So when you sleep, you sleep.
So when I sleep, I sleep.
He's
But
like,
when I don't take my
I'm gonna take my
traz,
time with this one.
when I don't take my traz, I'm like awake.
Up at 3 a.m.,
Yeah.
4 a.m.,
100%.
having dance parties.
Yeah.
Shit. Kind of going back. So keeping the description short and simple, because it really is. And I think that's what helps. That's what helps it remain such a staple film, because the plot is so simple. And the movie itself is honestly so much fun. There's a lot of gore. It's typical group of teenagers getting along. Like, and spoiler alert, they die.
Yeah.
And then of course you have your final girl who literally makes it through like how many films? Like 3, 4?
I don't even
know. Fake fan.
Yeah, fake fan.
But now that we have that out of the way, what is your first impression watching the movie and your like favorite kill and scene and all that stuff?
So my first impression, obviously, like I went into this movie being like, oh, like I'm not gonna get scared, blah 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 blah. It's like the 80s film, you know. And sure enough, like, you know, I feel like more of the concept is scary than the actual like you know,
actual
scenes
Freddy.
that we see.
Okay.
I will say, I actually did jump. I actually did
There's
jump.
some good jump scares in this. And I think
Yeah.
what again, and this is what I think makes a good jump scare, or what makes a jump scare a good jump scare. And I think what Insidious does really well is and a lot of movies do them, but what 80s, 70s, early 90s movies have with jump scares is that they make a sound after, like during the jump scare, but they make like a high pitch sound. So the sound is at times more scarier than the actual like scene that's going on.
Yeah.
And that's what Insidious also does really well, because they do like a really high pitched,
But it's
and it's
scary.
terrifying. And I think The Exorcist kind of does the same thing. But anyways,
And so that's basically it. And I will say another first impression that I had was, why are they always barefoot?
were they always what?
Barefoot.
You know what? I will say
And
the first part of my life, I was barefoot a lot of the times.
I mean, okay, but but like this girl was literally, she ran to the precinct from her house.
she did
in
completely barefoot.
But here's the thing. I was talking to my sister about this the other night when we were watching it. And I was like, why are they all barefoot? And then I was like, I made a and heck, this could even be like a known thing. I have no idea. But I thought to myself, well, maybe they're all barefoot in their dreams because that's when they're the most vulnerable. Like, it has to mean something. You know what I mean? It either means that or Wes Craven has a foot fetish.
Either one.
Yeah.
Either one. There's a lot of feet in this.
But we didn't see a lot of feet in Scream or Halloween. So, I mean, not Halloween, but yeah.
Okay. Well, that is true. Is it when they're barefoot while they're sleeping? Maybe that's it.
Maybe, but I do remember Glenn goes to Nancy's house, like he sneaks up,
Oh yeah.
you know, and he's barefoot.
Really?
Yeah. Like when he sneaks up to Nancy's room, he's like, can you open the window? 'Cause my foot is getting stuck. It's not fun being barefoot on, like, sitting on the roof or whatever.
I mean, if he's sneaking in, I would assume maybe for like heavy shoes, climbing on things,
But like,
trying to be sneaky.
barefoot?
like you would have socks on.
I know.
Okay,
But
I don't think I ever really caught that.
Really?
I guess I'm not too keen on watching people's
Well,
feet.
I think I first noticed it because when Tina was first getting attacked, when she walked out of the house for the first time, I was like, why is this woman walking out of the house barefoot? And then she runs down the alleyway barefoot.
Like,
and
y'all
then
aren't-
number one, and then number two, homegirl Nancy runs from her house to the precinct barefoot. And then Glenn goes from his house to Nancy's house barefoot.
What the fuck?
I'm not even kidding, bro.
Maybe
Anyway.
I'm going to assume with your first thought that maybe it's a vulnerability thing.
Yeah.
Because, or I don't know. Are you faster or slower barefoot? I never really.
I'm personally slow
Okay.
because my feet are very sensitive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like maybe it was an early thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but like I think being barefoot was very like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like whatever.
And like, who cares?
And
but
it's
like,
fine.
I will admit something. I did walk the streets of downtown Austin, Texas, barefoot
That is disgusting.
a few years ago.
That is disgusting.
And maybe
you
that's just where
definitely caught something.
that's maybe just where my trauma came from.
Walking barefoot in downtown.
That's why I'm like, no, we don't walk barefoot, you know.
Don't walk barefoot.
Anyway.
There you go. Anyway.
So that's just my first impression.
Getting the feet out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay, your first impression was there's a lot of feet.
Yeah, there's a lot of feet. My favorite scene, y'all, I can't even think of a favorite scene. Like, I genuinely really like this movie, and the reason why I can't think of a favorite scene is not because I don't like the movie. Mm-hmm. It's just, I feel like there's a lot going on basically kind of the whole time.
Okay.
But you know what? I actually, now that I say this, now that I think about it, actually, my favorite scene is when Nancy brings him out of her dream.
Ooh, yes.
And she like does the whole booby trap thing.
Yes.
Actually,
it's like a Home Alone type shit.
Actually, now that I think about it, that's actually my favorite scene because
it is a good scene.
It's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
And in general, just Freddy's really funny.
You know what I was kind of thinking?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Freddy Krueger and Terrifier have a lot in common with their characteristics.
Yes.
I feel like Freddy is what Art could be if he could talk.
Yeah.
Because Freddy is so funny. Mm-hmm. He's really like charismatic and he's so sassy and he's so like, yeah.
So yeah, I think that's probably gonna have to be my favorite scene.
Love. That is a good scene though.
My favorite kill, I will say, I do think Tina and Glenn's were the most brutal and bloody. Mm-hmm. But I like Tina's the most because we did actually see what happened to Tina.
Yeah.
Like this girl was flying all over the room. She was getting waved around. So yeah, and I really liked that. I like seeing
like the end result
I like seeing the process.
Okay.
Not necessarily the end result. I mean,
like a
I like
closure
both.
thing, like, oh man, she died, or she lived, or like
I like both. Like I like seeing like, oh, is she gonna live? Oh, is she gonna die? I mean, obviously,
and
Tina,
then you get like, oh, she died.
Yeah, like obviously Tina was a very much obvious like, oh, she's gonna die. You know,
right.
But yeah, I would have liked to see how Glenn really died, because I know he gets swallowed by his bed, and there's like a gush. I mean, not even a gush. There's like pool of blood.
Yeah,
you know. But like, what happened in his bed? Like, did Freddy like scratch him up?
Maybe his fingers were at the bottom of the bed and just blending him all.
Yeah,
like when he goes.
Yeah, but yeah, that's
okay.
Pretty much it.
I can see that.
What about you?
So my first impression, as always, I don't remember when I first watched this. I do remember it being a long time ago. It was maybe one of the movies that my brother-in-law and my sister introduced me to, or maybe I just watched it on my own at some point. But I do remember being relatively young and being scared. But I do remember, like, around that time when I watched it for the first time, Freddy vs. Jason was coming out. And so I was like, oh, like, let me catch myself up. And so I watched Freddy, and then I watched Freddy vs. Jason. My favorite scene, I have to say, so I've said this in the Terrifier episode, the first Terrifier, and then the Haunt episode, but I really like the opening scenes in horror movies where they show like the killers getting ready. And I think what I like about it is that we get a bit of a sneak peek into who the killer is, or like what the killer is about, but we don't actually see them. So you just get a glimpse of like, this is what they like to do. This is what they like to use to kill.
This is their hobby. Their favorite activity.
But we're not going to introduce them just yet.
Right.
And so I really liked it. And it just gives very Y2K, like YouTube get ready with me videos. And I love it. And I like in the beginning scene of this movie where Freddy is making his finger knives. So we get to watch him make the most iconic murder weapon that everyone knows today. But I also want to be basic and say that I really like the bath scene where Freddy's hand pops up during Nancy's bath.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an iconic like frame shot, and I actually had that as my screensaver for a good minute, so it's really cool. My favorite kill, I'm going to have to say Glenn's. I feel like it's kind of basic, but I do like it. I like how insane it was. Now, I know Tina's was like, girl, what the fuck? But Glenn's was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It was like an even bigger one. And so, like, he got swallowed by his entire bed.
I will say, I appreciate the fact that we had a middle ground in between both of the most
like disturbing kills.
Yeah. I think Wes Craven was probably like, let's give them a little break. Give them something simple.
Let's do a simple slash.
Just a little simple one, like nothing too crazy. And then bam, Glenn.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And that's the thing. Like, I feel like, I don't know if maybe that's what they had in mind, but like, your bed is supposed to be the safe zone for monsters. Yeah. But he got swallowed by his entire bed. Yeah. Like, that doesn't count for Freddy. Freddy's like, I'm going to get you where you're at. Yeah. No matter where you fall asleep, I'm there.
You could be in jail.
Yeah. You can be in jail on a hard rock floor. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. And so, I just thought it was really good. And I think it's a really good scene. R.I.P. Johnny Depp's character.
Yes. R.I.P. Glenn.
Yeah.
So, getting into the cast a little bit. Yes. I think, honestly, at this point, the cast segment of our episode is just one of our favorites because we love every single actor and actress.
The people who create these things for us.
Yeah. So, obviously, we have Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. Heather Langenkamp as Nancy Thompson. Johnny Depp as Glenn. Amanda Weiss as Tina. Of course, Miss Lynn motherfucking Shay as the teacher. Y'all, I love this woman.
Lynn Shay.
Hello, Insidious. Come on now.
Love her.
And I'm sure, like, I know she's on another horror movie. I don't remember. But yeah, just to name a few.
Just a couple name drops.
Just a couple name drops, right?
I love that.
I will say, I did read that Heather Langenkamp beat over 200 girls for the role of Nancy.
Damn.
Like, imagine you're in a room of 200 people with 199 other people, right? For example.
Oh, yeah.
For example. Because you're the
I don't know math.
For example, right? And there's a shit ton of other girls and you're like, oh my God, like I'm definitely the most inexperienced in this room. Like I don't know.
Feeling a little self-conscious.
Super self-conscious. Concha, right?
Yeah.
And then you get the part. Like, imagine
insane.
The confidence. Let me read off some of the actresses that she beat. She beat Demi Moore, Courtney
Cox,
Claudia Wells, and Jennifer Grey, Tracy Gold.
Like they all auditioned and then she won the role, or I mean, they were considering these people and they were like,
well, it just says she beat them. So
she beat them up in the parking lot.
She beat them physically. That's one way to win.
Well, I'm the only one you have to look at.
Yeah. And of course, you know, I'm sure all the other actresses would have done a phenomenal job, but she really did slay. If I may. Yeah, she slayed. Again, Johnny Depp was in this movie. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was actually his debut film.
I think so. I think before this he was in something else, but it wasn't like as big. So I think this one is the one that really made him like pop.
And he got the role, and he also beat some pretty big names.
Good for him.
He beat John Cusack, Nicolas Cage, Thomas C. Howell.
Yeah.
And there was one more that I was just naming, but I don't remember.
I do think that he had that who did you name earlier? Charlie Sheen.
Sheen.
Charlie Sheen, him, John Stamos, like all of those men that were like giving
face.
They were giving face.
They were.
And good for them.
Yeah.
Because look where I got them.
Exactly. Rob Lowe. Andrew McCarthy. Listen, Andrew McCarthy, to me, he is a heartthrob, and I'm sure he was to a lot of people in the 80s, but
there's something about an 80s heartthrob that just does it.
Yeah, and 70s too.
70s, 80s, some 90s.
Yeah.
They don't make them like they used to.
They don't.
God.
But
And Hoozles.
anyway, yeah.
Kind of going back onto the film though, like, so we were supposed to have a different ending. So our ending to this movie was supposed to be like a happy ending. So where they actually defeated Freddy, and then how they were supposed to be all living their lives nice and happy. But the producer Robert Shea was like, nah, we got to leave some space for a sequel. So then he did the whole plot twist to where the happy ending is actually a dream. So then you still have space to speculate that he's like not been defeated. Hence why we have so many other movies afterwards. So I don't know. I don't know if, like, how are you going to create such an iconic franchise if you were to just give it a happy ending?
Right.
You know? Because I mean, it's the same for like Scream. Well, Scream, supposedly the killers were defeated, but that continued.
It sure did.
So,
but I feel like in this scenario, well, in Scream, they're human.
That's true.
And in this one, he's an entity of some sort.
Well, for Chucky too. Chucky he dies in the first one. Like, they shoot that boy in the heart. Like, he's supposed to be dead. But then his soul ends up in another doll, and then it continues. And that boy just keeps jumping from doll to doll.
So I guess,
like, because he can't jump into a different human. So,
right.
like, his soul just kind of keeps popping up in different dolls. And then eventually he gets sewn back together as the same doll, and then that's how we get Bride of Chucky. So, like, I guess they could have made it work. Even maybe if he died, they would have found a way to bring him back, I think. Right?
yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that.
I don't know. But yeah, we were supposed to get a different ending.
Yeah. So we mentioned this in our last episode, but we did have the opportunity to be in the presence of Mr. Robert Englund and Mrs. Heather Langenkamp. And we didn't meet them, unfortunately. But my sister took a picture with Robert Englund. It
So she met him.
slays.
It does slay.
Because he, like, wrapped her around and, like, put his gloves over her. And I was like, God, I wish that were me.
He obviously didn't dress up as Freddy, but he
Right.
took the glove.
And the glove is fine.
But I was gonna say, but honestly, that's
I would
enough.
be totally happy with just the
Yeah.
glove. No, that picture slays.
It does.
If she gives me permission, I might post it.
looks really
I will
good.
say we were really close to meeting Heather. My sister really wanted a photo, but when we got in line at the time, she was only doing autographs. So unfortunately, we ended up just leaving.
Yeah.
Because my sister really wanted the photo.
She seems really sweet.
Yeah.
They did like not a whole reunion, but they did like photo ops with both of them.
Yeah, like a
And then
panel too, I think.
Yeah, and a panel, and I think a couple of other them too. Robert Englund was the first man to go when it came to like photo ops. Like, his shit sold out so quickly, and his lines were so immensely long because he was only doing photo ops and autographs, so he wasn't doing like where you can go up to
Selfie.
the table and take
Yeah.
a picture with him. And from what we heard from all of the staff is that he's a really good guy and he likes to take his time with his fans, and so he
talks a lot.
Yeah, like
That's
I heard
what
that
we
he talked a lot. That at some points they'd have to tell him like, "Hey, man,
Yeah.
there's other people that you
Yeah.
got to get through. Like, keep it going."
That would be me, though. It's like,
honestly,
I don't
yeah.
wanna, like, what do you mean? Like, keep it going? I just made a bestie. Like,
Like, this is now my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of cool to see the really sweet side of people who play such monsters.
Yeah.
Because I think it just really makes you appreciate like their work overall and like how much effort they put into these things that they create for us freaks.
I will say I had an experience with Robert Englund. I mean, obviously after, I don't know if it was Friday or Saturday at the convention, we went down the stairs, right? We were like already in our PJs, and I'm in my Buc-ee's t-shirt with holes in it because my cat, and my I Love New York bright pink PJ pants, okay?
Love. What a Texan outfit.
Honestly, the elevator opens, right? And who is right outside of that elevator? Who is right outside of the elevator?
Freddy himself.
Robert Englund himself. Robert Englund himself. And I was like, no way. Obviously, he does not remember and he did not care, but I care. And I remember.
How dare you run
And I
into
was like,
someone in normal people clothing?
yeah, overall, very sweet guy. And I also heard, I don't know where I heard this, that night, the reason why he was getting on the elevator is because he was hanging out at the bar. He was chatting with people and people were buying him drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would get Robert Englund drunk just to
I
talk
would get
to
him
him.
a drink. Like, what do you want, sir?
Oh, I love
you
that.
want 50? Oh, okay, I'll get you 50.
Immediately. What kind of shot you want?
Even though he's the one who has the money, but I don't care. Anything for him, right?
So now that we kind of talked about some of that experience, I think now is a good time to do a little Would You Rather? Yeah! So for this movie, would you rather have Freddy haunt your dreams but no one believes you, or have him haunt your loved one's dreams and witness him torturing them one by one? Immediately them. I refuse to be the victim. I will help you all
true.
I can.
That's true.
That is so selfish. I'm sorry.
I mean, hey, someone's gotta, answer that one.
Someone gotta do it.
Someone's gotta pick that answer.
Because it's like, I only have a total of like 4 friends.
Okay.
So it's not gonna be that many people that I fight for.
Right. You know how I say in every episode, I'm like, God complex, God complex. Well, not in this one.
Not in this one?
Not in this one.
You don't think you could fight off Freddy? You don't have any Nancy in you?
I like to think that I do.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what's really interesting about dreams, especially my dream, well, whatever, but in my dreams, I am not the one in control.
No.
In a lot of dreams, or a lot of people, somehow, they're able to control their dreams. Must be nice. I want to learn how to do that.
A lot of people lucid dream.
Yeah. And I want to do that. But
because then you end up like Insidious.
Yeah. You go into the further. Anyway, I really do wish that I could control my dreams, and I probably am going to try to work on that. I don't know how, but I will try.
2023 resolution.
2023.
Learn to lucid dream.
Yeah. But overall, I guess, God, I don't know.
I go back and forth because like the God complex in me is like, I can fight him off. I'll be all right. And then if I need help, but no one believes me. Yeah. So I'm like fighting off people trying to put me in a psychiatric ward, and then literally trying to fight an actual demon in my sleep. Basically,
my answer is, and I love you guys. I love my friends. I love my family, but
I refuse to be the victim.
Number 1, to be the victim. Number 2, to not be in control of in my dream, right? Mm-hmm. And number 3, you know, he's gonna have to hunt y'all. Yes, y'all are gonna have to fight for yourselves because.
Well, okay, so here's the thing though. Like, if it's just me, like if it's just happening to me and no one believes me, then I'm on my own. But if it's happening to other people, do I believe them? But if it's happening to multiple,
you can believe them,
but I can't do anything about it.
You can't do anything about it.
Okay, then I was gonna say, well, that's different. I'd rather like all of us get together and then fight him. But
well, you know, too bad.
But I can't if I can't do anything.
Too bad, yeah.
Too bad.
Too bad.
That's fine. I can endure some more trauma. I think I have more space.
Yeah.
That's all right.
We'll be fine. Wait, did you answer?
Yeah, I'm doing the I refuse to be a victim. I'm gonna let him
haunt your family
ones.
friends?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Well, now that we have that would you rather out of the way, I think now is an appropriate time to rate the movie. We will again be using our satisfactory and scary scale. Scale. Because just because a movie is scary doesn't mean it's good, and vice versa. So, Monica, what would you rate this movie?
Thank you so much for asking.
Of course.
I satisfactory scale. This is a good 8 out of 10. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good 8, 9 out of 10 because it's a good slasher. Kind of like how we mentioned in the beginning. The plot's not really that thick to pick up on. It's not too...
Very simple, straight to the point.
He kills you in your dreams. Don't let him get you.
And I appreciate the fact that we have a backstory to him.
Which
is that he was a child killer. Mm-hmm. And then the parents of the neighborhood.
Yeah, like they all got together and were like, burn, motherfucker.
And was like, see you in hell.
Yep.
So.
And he's like, hell is all of y'all's dreams.
Yeah. 100%.
Oh, shit.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I love that.
He's like, you will be seeing me again.
You will be seeing me.
And then he goes, 100%.
Yeah. Call me a fake fan. I haven't really watched the other ones, but I guess the only question I'm sort of left with, and I'm sure there's a few more I just can't think of, but did his spirit, how
Like, how is he haunting
How
dreams?
is he number one, how is he haunting the dreams, right? But second of all, how is he able to come out of their dreams?
Oh. Like, how is he able to
if
break the
he's
fourth wall?
dead? Yeah. Which I'm going to get a little bit into that.
I feel like they try to mention it in some of the other films, like part 2 and part 3, but I think it's still very, like, I don't know, try to pull him out if you can. That way you can beat his ass.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like, I do think that he's more vulnerable in, like, real world versus, obviously, dream world.
Yeah. And I guess
that's, like, the main thing.
But actually, before we continue, I will like to say that in my literature of fantasy class yesterday.
Okay. Y'all talked about Freddy.
I brought it up.
Okay.
I brought him up, obviously. But we were talking about, the difference between fantasy and sci-fi and realism, right? And between fantasy and sci-fi, there's this kind of, I guess the term time travel and portal can be kind of thrown into both of them, right?
Okay.
More into sci-fi because it is a little bit more scientific. But something that my professor mentioned that I really enjoyed the discussion was portals.
Yeah.
Right? And he was like, okay, guys, throw out some names of films or any sort of media that involve portals. And obviously people were like Matrix, Jumanji, Coraline, Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz? Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was one more very, very... Oh, Narnia.
Narnia. Yes.
And listen, I, being me, was trying so hard to think of a horror movie, right? That involves portals. And for some reason, the only one that really came to mind, and I'm so mad that I didn't say it, was Insidious. Okay? Because personally, to me, in a way, The Further is sort of a portal. Actually,
I would say so. I would say so. And what the thing is that, like, it just really depends on who you ask, because The Further actually exists to a lot of people. Like, it's actually something that happens. Like, it's believed that, your soul basically leaves your body while you're sleeping, which is why you dream. And then when you lucid dream, you're basically able to control those dreams, but that's you kind of going with your soul.
Right.
And then you're like kind of doing things and whatever. And so if you don't do it correctly, then you can accidentally go into what you would consider a portal or the further. And then you end up in something that you can't control anymore. And then it's like, ah! And I don't know if I would compare The Further with, like, Freddy's version of, like, dreaming,
because,
like,
in order to get to The Further, you have to sleep, or get hypnotized. But I just did not want to say Insidious, and then I was like, oh my god, A Nightmare on Elm Street, right?
Yeah.
And so I raised my hand, of course, like the very smart student that I am, and he was like, yeah, and I was like, okay, and I asked, I was like, how would A Nightmare on Elm Street, where would A Nightmare on Elm Street fall when it comes to portals? And he was like, I think he said, like, personally, I do agree that A Nightmare on Elm Street does have a portal. Well, because I mentioned, I was like, Nancy literally grabbed his hat and eventually him out of her dream. So, does that make it a portal? And he was like, yes, but, and then I don't remember, it kind of blinked out, but basically, for example, like, the people who made up the rules of portals don't believe that they can coincide, like, two different worlds from the portal or whatever can coincide. Basically, Freddy can't live, and true, like, I agree, Freddy can't live
in the real world. Oh my gosh, there's portal borders.
Yeah, there are.
Take them down.
And Nancy can't live in
the dream world.
They're a dream.
Oh my god, they're dreamists and they're realists. There's borders even in dream world. That's unfortunate. No, okay. I can definitely see that. Then maybe we can, which we will, we'll definitely cover, like, part 2 and part 3, maybe kind of get a deeper understanding. I think this concludes our Nightmare on Elm Street episode. It looks like we are nearing the end, but as always, this was a blast to record because Nightmare on Elm Street is always going to be around and it will forever remain a superior film. It's a really good one. I love it.
Yeah.
And thanks again, of course, to everyone tuning in and listening. We truly appreciate you all. And if you have, and if you want to keep up with us, we have all of our social medias linked in the summary in the description.
Yes. And I know we always say this, but we sincerely do appreciate all of y'all for listening and for supporting us. And like I mentioned in the previous episode, we have received a lot of, attraction on TikTok. So make sure to follow us on there to keep up with us and our silly, goofy TikToks. Yeah. And if you came from TikTok, hello.
And thank you
for giving us a chance.
Thank you for giving us a chance. Thank you for letting us.
I promise we're just as funny in, recording as we are in our videos.
In our videos. I don't know if we're not too funny in our videos, though.
We'll get there.
We'll show our humor.
We're entertaining.
We're entertaining. That's a better word.
Entertaining.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, and with that being said, if you like today's episode, please tune in into next week's episode where we will talk about Friday the 13th, 1980s,
yes.
The very first film.
Yeah.
You know what? We're not going to mention too much about this one. We're going to reserve a lot of our thoughts for the episode.
Yeah.
Because, just because. Just because. I feel like sometimes we go on a rant towards the end of the episode because we get excited.
We don't know how to hit the brakes.
Yeah. So we're just going to leave it. But just know that the next one coming to town is Jason.
Yes.
But yeah, we just want to thank you guys again, and we'll talk to you very, very soon. And as always, we have been your hosts, Monica
and Jessica. Stay safe and stay spooky.
Oof, that was scary. I can't wait to come back next week.